Alright, this is part 2 of my Bowie knife video. And actually I was going to let you know a little, or I was going to tell you about something funny that happened. About the mid-latter part of the video, you see me kind of start looking off behind me and paying attention more of what's going on behind me than the camera. Well, I started hearing noises downstairs, and sounded like somebody was turning a doorknob, and I heard footsteps, kind of quiet voices, like there was, it was like somebody's trying to break in or sneak in. And I started thinking, I hope to God nobody's got the stupidity to come in while I'm making a Bowie knife video. And I knew my family was gone, and they were supposed to be gone for about an hour, hour and a half, and they had literally just walked out the door. So I was thinking, surely it's not them, because they would just walk up the stairs and announce themselves. So I took one of my Bowie knives, and you see me walk off camera for a little bit. And yeah, it turned out to be my family. They didn't want to disturb me, and they were trying to just stay downstairs and be quiet and wait out until I'm finished with the camera instead of coming into the camera's view. So, well, turned out all for the better, I guess. But anyway. I love cats, I was going to let you know that, but there's only one thing I don't like about them, and that's when they come into the living room where I'm recording and start scratching on couches. So hold on just a second while I throw it out. I swear there's going to be more interruptions on this video than anything else, but anyway. In the last part of my video, and in the last part 1, I was showing you some of the Bowie knives that I have and some of the good bad points about them. I forgot one very, very important Bowie knife. I probably forgot more, but that's probably why there might be a part 3 anyway. Well, let's angle this down a bit. Now this is the K-Bar 1277 Heavy Bowie. I've got these, I know you've already seen these Bowie knives already. These on the table I'm going to use in my demonstration here in just a minute. This one is the 1277, the longer version. These come in 2 versions, one the 1276 I believe. It's about a 7.5 inch blade. And this one, so you can see it better, this one is a 9 inch blade, I believe. It might be a little bit over, or 8 7/8, but I believe it's right about 9 inches. That's what they advertise it as. It's a 1/4 inch thick. It's 1085 carbon steel, flat ground. It's got a nice craton bird's head or bird's beak craton handle, very nicely shaped. You can see the. Now this is one part. I bought this as you all know. I do a lot of knife rescue. A lot of times I'll go to the pawn shop and I'll see a knife that's been battered or just one that I like, and so I'll rescue it from its fate at the pawn shop. And this one, I've been wanting to test this Bowie knife out and buy one for a while. I saw some good reviews on it on YouTube on here, but it doesn't really show what the shape of the handle is. I didn't know that this part, the guard part, how it flares out. I had no idea that was like that. I mean, you can kind of tell, but unless you really handle a knife, you don't really know what it's going to feel like in your hand. And I was always wondering how it's going to feel with this odd-shaped bird's head beak. It looked comfortable, but it looked like it could also bite into your pinky, Luckily, I've got really small hands, so my hand's got plenty of room on there. But in the last video, I said I, chose a couple of Bowie knives as the best budget Bowies. And this was the best of the budget Bowies right here. And that's not changed, but I wanted to add the 1277 Heavy Bowie. You can buy these for under $50 on eBay or basically probably at any discount knife shop or catalog. And this is just too good of a deal to waste. I bought this one, I believe, for around $45. It's about the price of a new one, but I bought it at a pawn shop, and I think I got some trade-in credit on some other things that I traded in at the time. I bought this about maybe a year ago or so, something like that. Now it's a little used, and if you can see, I'm not sure if you can, if the camera is focusing, you may be able to see a little nick right there. It's not a huge nick, but not a little tiny one either. It's got a few tiny ones here and there. Other, than that, it's in good shape. These are made in Taiwan, but for the cost, it's excellent. I mean, you can't beat that. This is probably one of the most comfortable knives I have ever handled in my life. And I'm not getting any money for this. I'm not, getting any kickbacks from these companies. I don't get the knives for free. None of that. Everything that I've bought here is, purchased with my own money and or traded for or whatever. But I really have to tell you, this is absolutely one of the best knives out there. Now, I can't fully, recommend it as a fighting Bowie, because it does not have the sharpened back clip and it does not have a guard. Now, if you're, of the modern combat school, somebody like, going to Afghanistan or something like that overseas, you might be perfectly happy with this one, or even with the shorter 7.5-inch version. It's a great chopping knife, great bushcraft knife, very thin edge. Some people might, complain, oh, well, 1085, that's not really that good. Why didn't they use 1095 or CPM 3V? Well, for the record, 1085, it's just a little bit less carbon steel than 1095, but it's a hell of a lot tougher. Anything past about 0.85, 0.86 has reached the maximum carbon absorption it can. Anything more is not adding to the toughness. After that, you're just getting wear resistance and hard to sharpen. Really, that's about it. It does make it hold an edge better, but it doesn't make it any tougher. Up to 0.85, the more carbon you add to iron and make steel, the higher the carbon. Up to 0.85 makes it tougher. After that, no. So it's kind of a moot point unless you're using the blade for, say, something like carving or cutting cardboard. And with a large Bowie knife, this is a large, long, heavy impact type weapon for chopping, splitting, things like that. So you're not going to really need all that edge holding potential. It's going to get dull anyways. So you might as well go with something that's going to be easy to sharpen and not chip out easily. Now, I've seen some of these on YouTube also that have chipped out badly. Whether that was, due to faulty heat treat or just plain stupidity on the person's part, a bad whack, bad angle, I don't know. It happens, even with the best of steels. You can push a steel past the point of failure. Just because it's, such and such a steel doesn't make it, destruction proof or chip proof. So I have no qualms about recommending 1085. I'd rather actually have 1085 than 1095 in a lot of the heavy Bowies. Anyway, in this one I want to show you a couple of basic Bowie knife tactics. If you all want to do or learn Bowie knife fighting, then I would recommend James A. Keating and his videos. Also, a book that I recommend is Bill Bagwell's Bowie knife, or Big Knives, Bowies, or I think, I don't know, I'm not really sure what exactly it is. I think it's Bowie's Big Knives and the Best of Battle Blades. I think that's what it is. He's only got one book, so look up Bill Bagwell. He delves more into the history of Bowie knives and just a little bit into Bowie knife combat and technique. This is one of the best books. If you all are wondering, and I'm sure some of you have wondered, what is the deadliest knife out there? Well, Bill Bagwell answers it very, very aptly, and he can back it up. The book, honestly, I read the book about 5, maybe 7 years ago, and it really changed the way I think about knives, especially Bowie knives. They are the deadliest knives ever. And if you don't believe that, talk to somebody who knows Bowie knife combat and Bowie knife history. Ask Bill Bagwell; he could back it up. You know, he can definitely tell you and explain it better than I can. But that's a book I highly recommend. Also, James Keating's videos. Bill Bagwell recommends the Deadly Back Cut video and Bowie Basics as the first ones. He's got several more, and I've got at least 1 or 2. I'm not really sure. Another gentleman I can recommend personally, and from a few other people I've heard also, his name is pt.2. I believe it's pronounced Kautz. It's Kautz. It might be pronounced cats, I'm not really sure. He does a lot of Bowie knife fighting and Bowie knife videos, and also a series of books by Dwight C. McLemore. He does a lot of the tomahawk fighting books, and he's got 2 on Bowie's, Bowie knife fighting and advanced Bowie tactics. And these are great books. It's a very scientific discussion and breakdown of Bowie knife technique. He teaches you about, you know, the back cut number 1, back cut number 2, all that kind of stuff. So does James Keating. But what I'm going to show you is a technique. It's called the snap cut. So I'm going to get into that. I'm using a training knife, just a regular made by Cold Steel one, because as you can see, everything in here, it's a living room and everything's breakable. So I'm sure my mom would not like me breaking all her breakables. Anyway, I know you can't see my footwork or any of the stances I'm in or anything like that, but if you need to see that, then I would get the book by Dwight C. McLemore. The snap cut, basically, show you the side of it. It's just a quick, it's also called a snipe or a hack. It's just a very quick forward cut. And it's very hard to stop, and it's even hard to see when it's coming straight at you. You can do it with your fingers underneath the guard and saber grip. And actually, I know you can't see that, but that's about an inch away from the camera. It's another reason why I'm using this. It's an expensive camera. And it can be combined with something like a back cut. Yeah, I'm sure you all have heard of the back cut. Basically, you just turn your wrist downwards. I'm not good at explaining stuff like that. That's why I recommend James A. Keating. He's a much better teacher than I am, and I'm no expert at this. This is just what I've learned. If somebody comes at you with a knife, let's say trying to stab you, you don't even have to turn, you don't even have to cut them with the forward part of the knife. You just turn your wrist, snap cut. And in Bill Bagwell's book, I believe he says fully about 60 to 70% of the casualties in Bowie knife fights back in the 1830s and 40s and 50s or so, they were due to the back cut, because it's something you can't see coming. It's delivered in such a small fraction of a second, your eyes can't see it, and even if they could see it coming, your brain can't react to it quickly enough to initiate a defense to block it. So it's very effective, and so is the snipe or hack, the snap cut. This is one that I've been practicing a lot. You just watch TV or whatever, play with your practice knife and practice the snap cut. You can do a lot of different kinds. There's a whip-like motion that I've been practicing in slow motion, basically. I'm trying to get it so you all can see this well. Now remember, you're only using this part of the knife, the back, the sharpened clip. That's why it's so important for a true fighting Bowie knife to have a sharpened clip. And you can do it just amazingly fast. You know, it's just a whip-like maneuver, and actually you can do there's a lot of ploys and tricks you can do. You can make it look like I'm all doing a slow motion. You can make it look like you're going to do a stab or a thrust coming straight in, you know, and when he goes to block you, snap, you know, hit him in the wrist, and you can be planning a disarm the whole time. You know, look like you're coming in for a thrust. He goes to block you, you know, snap cut or the whip cut. You could also basically do a modified thrust with this. Just use the tip, and this camera does not have panoramic view, as you can see, so you can bet your bottom dollar my next camera is going to have panoramic on it. But basically, just rotate, and when it gets to the very last part, about 3/4 of the way through, turn and follow through. If you're going to do a thrust or a modified thrust like that, come through and, you know, whip it so this part of the knife hits. You don't need to do any forward motion, just whip it and let the point do the work. And that's actually going to be a cut and a thrust. And it's just such a wicked move. Now I'm planning on doing a little video showing you these techniques just a little bit better, more in depth. And I'm also going to be doing this with a target. There we go. I'll be using a cardboard and foam target, so you can see the actual damage that the Bowie knife can do. You'd be surprised. You really would. If you just do a little bit of practice with it, just, you know, get one of these little cheap knives or make one out of wood. It's not as good as one out of, you know, foam or plastic. But if you're just playing around with it at home like I have been, it'll do. You know, just quick cut. And you can get pretty good at it pretty quickly. As you can see, I've not hit the camera yet, so that's saying something at least. So thank you, Mr. Keating, for your excellent videos. It's all because of your videos and because of Bill Bagwell's, you know, books. Well, of course, Dwight McLemore's book also. But again, the snipe or snap cut, it's a forward. I would recommend that you hold the knife like this, a hammer grip, I believe it's called, because when you do the cut, you need to be holding it very, very, very loosely. The fingers, the bottom, I'm having trouble showing you this here. These bottom fingers basically don't even apply any pressure. All the pressure is in these 3 fingers, no, 2 fingers and a thumb actually, and that is very, very loose. Don't let it, you know, that's why another reason why you're using a practice knife, because someday it's going to happen where you're doing a snap cut or a whip cut or something like that, and that knife is going to go flying out of your hand and hit something probably that it's not supposed to. But it's better than killing somebody or embedding your knife in your dog. So again, the snipe or snap cut, you know, that's why you hold it loose. Just that quick motion. You can do it with this, but as you can see, it's a heck of a lot slower, and you have to use a lot more control. This, you're almost not even using your hand, it's just your wrist. You know. You can do it backwards with the back of the blade, which is even more devastating actually, because it's a inward curve. And you're drawing that blade, that curve, through the cut. And of course, that little whip cut you know, about 3/4, 7/8 of the way. You're facing with the edge, and then turn around and follow through. And again, you can do that just so quickly. I mean, it's devastating how quick that is. And you don't even have to really hold your arm out. You don't have to signal or telegraph your motions. You could just let the guy, you know, if you're in a fight, God forbid you ever get into one, but if he makes a move towards you, if you need to move back, you know, just let him kill himself. If that hits your wrist, that could take the wrist off. You could sever an artery. You really don't even need to do that. If you hit him here on the back of the thumb, there's a nerve there. And if you hit that hard enough with even something not edged, that's going to cause him to release his grip. Hold your fist like that and then tap yourself right there. It's kind of hard to see, I know. Tap yourself right there. You'll find the right there. You can, right there in the wrist almost. You cannot hold your hand closed, or if you're holding a weapon. And if you hit that with the back of the edge, the sharpened clip, or even if it's not sharpened, you're going to do a lot of damage. And at the very least, he's going to drop his knife, and you can either kick it away, follow through, you know, snap, cut, thrust, whatever, snipe, finish the fight, or even better, get out of there. So the reason I was recommending this knife, in the book Bowie's Big Knives and the Best of Battle Blades by Bill Bagwell, he says that a real fighting Bowie should not weigh over about 14 ounces, and I believe that, or actually about 13 ounces, I believe. A survival knife should be about 14 to 16, so let's put it at about 14 ounces, under a pound. How many of the Bowie knives out there that you know of weigh, say, 11 to 14 ounces? There's not many. Most of them are a lot heavier than that. The cold steel Natchez Bowie, which they call the quintessential fighting Bowie. And again, I'm not making fun of cold steel or the Natchez Bowie. It's a beautiful, gorgeous knife. I love it, but it weighs 22 ounces or 24 ounces. That's a hell of a lot more. And unless you're, you know, somewhere around the size of Andre the Giant or just a huge, big guy, you're not going to be able to swing that knife fast enough to get the full effect. That's why something like this, I think this weighs 8, 9, 10 ounces, something like that. Definitely under the 14 ounces. And this is just a deadly knife. You know, just... And that's, Bill Bagwell, I think, calls this the number 2 back cut. And that's not fast. James Keating and his trainees, they can deliver a 5-part back cut flow. That's 5 of these back cuts in, I think, 0.59 of a second, half a second. That's evil. I mean, that's just deadly. You know, that's slow compared to a real knife fighter. But still, if, you know, it comes to that point and you know what you're doing with a Bowie knife, even a little bit, you can blow through somebody. It's almost not even a fair fight. That's why I recommend a lighter knife. You can swing it faster, and if you swing it fast enough, it's going to make up for the lack of mass, and it's going to do a hell of a lot more damage. And I recommend a sharpened clip. This one is sharpened the correct way. It's a needle tip, but it's like a little rounded around there. It's a little rounded in the tip and sharpened around that whole curve. So it doesn't actually make a hole, it actually cuts its way through as it goes. That's why the back cut is just as effective, if not more, than the front cut, because it's a inward facing curve like a cat's claw, and it tears its way in. In the I guess I am going to make a part 3 because I have some other Bowie knives that I wanted to show you, folding Bowies, and by extension tactical knives, things like that. I know they're not real Bowie knives to some people, but most people can carry a folding knife a lot easier than they can an 11 3/4 inch long Bowie knife. However, it can be done, and I'll show you. Now this is the cold steel Laredo Bowie, and Mr. Bagwell recommends carrying it right here. Of course, it would be underneath your shirt, And that about all but disappears. That's called, I think, the appendix carry. You're more likely to not notice a lighter in my pocket than that Bowie knife. Now sure, I mean, it's a 9-inch blade. You're going to have to learn how to sit down with it and how to, turn it, and, when you sit down, to make sure it doesn't print. But, I wear Western shirts, so it's a heck of a lot easier for me to tear open my shirt and get to my Bowie knife. Some of you can put it and conceal it very well back here. I think it's a kidney carry. So there's also a good place, but I think it's not as quick personally as the front. There you also have to worry about it printing, and you not seeing it printing and somebody behind you seeing that. So I prefer right there. If you're carrying it under a vest, very easily hidden, even under an open shirt. That's not a fast presentation, I know, but I'm not going to be doing a lot of fancy schmancy drawing here in a living room. Now, just for comparison, something like the Cold Steel Frontier Bowie, it's just amazing how much faster the lighter Bowies are. This is a great blade. I'd hate to get hit with it. But you have to really put muscle into it, and you're telegraphing that. You can't just basically swing your hand or your wrist and do that. You're really having to put some muscle into it. Now, I'm 5'6", and I've got a size small hand. You might be able to pull it off better, but still, this is, I believe, 24 ounces or so. It's a heavy knife. I prefer the lighter ones, and for good reason. Well, thanks for watching. This is Mr. Rude Cat 45, and I hope you all have had a good day.